Let's get ready to rumble!
Keyshawn tried to take advantage of a depleted De Los Santos who had made weight. He was hoping Edwin would still take the fight because he's been inactive. He needs a fight. He needs a payday because he's been inactive. He wants the belt because he's been waiting patiently for an opportunity. But it backfired ultimately. And I made a comment on Lady Chan's video, and she said in reply to me saying he tried to disadvantage Edwin, she said, yeah, that tells me he wasn't all that confident to beat Edwin on an equal playing field. Interesting, the backfire entered the building. And I was saying all along, this is a tough fight for Keyshawn, and a lot of people saying he was going to roll him out. Well, explain to me how you weighing 4 pounds over when your camp, headed by Bomac, would have a set of scales. If you were having trouble making the weight before, you should have said so before. You shouldn't have let Edwin go through the whole process. Not to mention the expense of a training camp to make weight, to prepare for the fight. For Keyshawn to handle the whole situation appallingly unprofessionally. Shakur Stevenson, he didn't make weight against Conceição in his last fight at 130. But he only missed it by 1 pound and 6 ounces. Keyshawn missed the weight by 4 pounds. But even so, I believe Shakur deliberately didn't kill himself to make the weight, because that was a difficult fight. And he knew by depleting himself, taking off that final 1 pound and 6, he would have likely have lost the fight. They're the margins. And even some of my favourite fighters across the pond, like Danny Jacobs against Triple G, he took whatever financial penalty it was not to abide by the IBF rehydration rule, and that may have helped him perform as well as he did, even though he lost on points. Canelo, he's manipulated weights. Floyd, Tank Davis, even Keyshawn's last opponent, the Argentinian, I believe he deliberately flopped the weight, so he'd be extra strong in the ring, but he caught hands regardless. Can't forget Ryan, even though the Haneys were complicit, he deliberately flopped the weight and took peds. I can only think of Kevin Mitchell in that IBF eliminator against the Canadian years back over here, when he deliberately, in my opinion, failed to make the rehydration weight. You make the official weigh-in, and then the next day you come in 2 pounds over the rehydration limit. I believe it was deliberate. And he stopped the guy. IBF eliminator at 135. I'm hearing Keyshawn didn't even want to pay the fine. Keyshawn and Bomac knew he was tight at the weight. They should have withdrew midweek, forfeited the belt. I'm sure between Keyshawn, Bomac and the rest of the camp, they can come up with an excuse, some illness or sickness to explain away why they can't fight. Get a dodgy sick note, whatever it takes. Should have forfeited the belt in the week. You don't wait until the day of the fight. People taking time off work, rearranging their schedules to get into Virginia to watch you fight. Keyshawn. So Elliot Chavez, who was supposed to fight Adam Azim on his Oakwell card tonight, has been withdrawn. There were concerns raised by the Mexican Boxing Commission relating to Chavez's use of a sauna to make weight, a practice that is prohibited by the British Boxing Board of Control.
What is the most powerful trait?
Now, Adam Azim is saying, I tell you why I'm fighting on 2 weeks' notice. He said this yesterday. But I didn't hear nothing about him fighting on this Oakwell build 2 weeks back. But why were they hastily arranging this short notice fight for Adam Azim? Has it got something to do with the logistics contractually between Boxer and Sky, being this is the last Boxer show on Sky? And why is Adam Azim fighting these late notice opponents when there's perfectly good fights out there? This guy's talking about you can fight Devin Haney. Dude, until you fight one of your domestic rivals, and I'm not even saying Dalton Smith, I'm not even saying the D word, but there was Harlem Eubank, there's Pierce O'Leary, who's fighting tonight. There's a whole load of them at 140 that you could be fighting. There's fighters you can fight. And until you take on some of the domestic fighters, I don't want to hear talk about you fighting no Devin Haney, a former undisputed champion, a 2-weight champion. You shouldn't even have his name in your mouth. That Elliot Chavez gave Harlem Eubank some issues before he was disqualified. He was dirty, but he was giving Eubank some issues. How about you give him a whole training camp and fight him? Adam Azim, don't be calling out former world champions, undisputed champions, when you've had 2 perfect opportunities to fight domestic opposition who are willing to get in the ring with you, Harlem and Dalton, and you ain't showed up.
All mouth and no trousers.
Uh.